trying to relive those powder days. We just got back from a 5-day epic trip to Whistler, Canada. It was my first time ever, and we were out there filming for Epidemic Sound and Insta360, testing out some new cameras and enjoying some snowboarding. Now, this was my first time ever out in Whistler, and our guide, Kevin from Snowboard Pro Camp, said that the weather and the conditions that we had that week were the best of that season. On day one, we had beautiful bluebird sky. We were able to see all the peaks of Whistler and Blackcomb. And then on the first night, it snowed 40 centimeters of snow. So on day 2 of snowboarding, we woke up, lined up at the gondola at 6 a.m. to get the first runs in snowboarding with 40 centimeters of snow all over the runs. And that snow just continued all day long into the third day of riding, meaning we had one beautiful blue sky day and 2 days of just complete powder. Let's just say that we were so lucky when it came to weather, and we had a fantastic time out in Whistler, Canada. Quick shout out to Kevin, you were the best guide ever. Thank you, Mr. Miyagi, for letting me be Daniel's son and learning the ways of snowboarding. And thanks again to Epidemic Sound and Insta360 for making that trip happen. I really enjoyed that trip, and I really got the experience tank full. In today's video, I thought I would do a little bit of an update about what's been happening in my life, because this has been a season of changes. It's been new countries and new cameras. So maybe not all of you have heard, but I've actually recently moved with my wife Vera to Canada for the year, and I'll be working alongside my brother Maddie on his YouTube channel, and at the same time trying to create content as much as possible on my channel. But of course, with me working full-time for Maddie, it will mean that my channel will be a little bit quieter than usual. But living here in Canada has been great so far. At first, it was a little bit of shock going from the freedom of Finland with very little COVID-19 restrictions to a total lockdown here in Toronto. But luckily, things are getting a little bit more free now. And now we're actually settled into our real home, which I would love to do a tour of soon. Some of you guys might have seen that we were living in an Airbnb with epic views, but that's about the only thing that was going on well with that apartment. We had a whole bunch of problems with that Airbnb, and if you're interested in that video, I'll make sure to card it up here so you can get the full Airbnb tour and hear the nightmare story that we had with that apartment. But yeah, we're settled now into our new apartment, really great apartment in a great neighborhood. We've just been exploring on our bikes, riding to the beaches and riding around the city, and just really enjoying our time here in Toronto. Second big change that's happened in my life, I guess not for everyone, but when you're a photographer and filmmaker, whenever you change a new camera system, it's always a big deal. And ever since I started working for Maddie, he said, I think it's time you work with Sony cameras. So I've been working with the Sony a7S III for the last few months, and at first it did take a little bit of time to get used to just all the buttons and the menus, but once you get through that, this is actually a very fantastic camera. The image stabilization I really love because it doesn't have that awkward wobble like the R5 does. The quality is great, the skin tones look good. We got the flip LCD screen for vlogging, which is really nice. Most time, probably 95% of the time, we're using the 16 to 35 unless we're shooting portraits. Then I'm a lot of times throwing on the 24mm 1.4 to get that nice shallow depth of field. But yeah, I've been shooting with Sony cameras for the past 2 months, and I've actually surprisingly been liking it a lot, which is a lot to say from me because I have been a Canon user for my whole life, other than the simple dabble here and there with the GH5 or the Olympus. But now I have been shooting with Sony cameras only. It's gonna be interesting when I do go back to Finland one day. Will I sell all my Canon gear and invest in Sony gear? I don't know yet, but for now, I'll just hog Maddie's Sony cameras while I can. So yeah, those are the new changes that have been happening in my life. New country to live in, new cameras to work with. A lot of things to adjust to, but overall, we're doing very well. And I want to thank all of you guys for your guys' encouragements and just the messages that you guys have been sending and just encouraging me about the content I've been creating lately. So I just want to say thanks to all of you guys. It's so awesome to have you a part of this community. So a few weeks back, I asked on Instagram stories, would you guys enjoy a Q&A? And it was a resounding yes. There was something like 500 yeses and maybe 10 nos. Boo to the nose, I don't know who they were, but there were a lot of you guys who said yes, And then after that, I put a little bit of a question box for you guys to throw out questions my way. And I thought in this video, I would do a Q&A and answer all the questions if I have enough time to answer all of them, to just answer your guys' questions. I love being able to interact with you guys and hear what you guys are interested in hearing about and answering those questions. So I'll try my best to answer your questions. I might be able to get to all of them, but I will do my best. All right, so first question from Tucker Horan. How difficult was it to uproot from Finland and move to Canada? We were just actually talking about this with my wife the other day. And in the beginning, it was a bit overwhelming. There was a lot of tasks to take care of on the Finland end and in Canada. Just everything to do with packing up your stuff, finding a renter for your apartment, what to do with your car, canceling all your subscriptions and services that you have, and then flying over to Canada, doing the 2-week quarantine thing. While in Canada, we had to find our own place, get the car, insurance, all these things that you gotta do when you're moving to a new country. And in the midst of it all, it does feel a bit tiring, stressful, painful even at times. But once you're through it all, you kind of just forget everything, and now we're really enjoying life. So it's one of those things, it's like no pain, no gain. If you don't go through the pain of moving, the stress of it all, you're not gonna be able to enjoy a new season and new environment. So you gotta go through the work to be able to enjoy the reward, and now the reward is that we get to live here in Toronto, enjoy living in a beautiful city, and be around our family and friends. So yes, it was difficult, but at the same time, it was so worth it. All right, second question is from M. Hadley20. You asked, do you think you would ever stay permanently in Toronto, or are you Finlandians for life? Now, this is a great question. Right now, we've committed to just 1 year in Toronto. I'm gonna be working with Maddie and my brother on his channel, and just to enjoy this time with family and friends and life here in Toronto. So 1 year for now. Who knows after 1 year what will happen? I don't want to make decisions for many years to come. So right now we've just committed to 1 year, and let's see what happens. Maybe we do go back to Finland. Maybe we do stay here in Toronto. Who knows? I'm gonna leave it up in there, and let's see what happens and how life unfolds. All right, third question from R2Dare_. How is it to work for your brother? A lot of people have actually been asking me that question. What's it like to work for my brother, Maddie? And surprisingly, it's been really awesome. Of course, there's always those concerns. What's it like to work for a family member? Will that dynamic of being brothers or family get in the way of working together? But we actually have a really great way of working together. We are just like seamlessly working throughout the office. So often I'll start the edit on a YouTube video. During that, Maddie will be working some other things, writing a script or doing calls or mentoring other YouTube content creators. And then when I'm done editing the video, often he'll do the final touches to the video, make some final changes. And during that, I'll often take the thumbnail, edit the thumbnail. And from there, we're just like constantly rotating stations here at the office. And as well, it's been really fun just to be in the videos together, feed off each other's energy. I don't know about you guys, but at least for myself, it's a lot easier to create YouTube content when there's 2 of you rather than just alone. When you're alone, it's a little bit lonely just talking to yourself and just talking to the camera. Whereas if you have 2 people, you get to talk to each other, feed off each other's energy, crack jokes together. And like a lot of you guys have been commenting on the videos, we just have a whole lot of fun together. It's almost like we just get to hang out as brothers, making fun content, and that's considered our jobs at the moment. So in some ways, this feels really unreal to have the opportunity to work for my brother, Maddie. So yeah, overall, working for him, great things. The only weird part I think is that I'm not my own boss anymore, and I can't just decide my own hours or my days off. Whereas in Finland, because I was a business owner and I had my own business, I could decide when I start my work day and end my work day. But luckily, he's pretty flexible, so it's a good thing. All right, next question, number 4. What's the first video you posted on YouTube? That's a good question. Let's go to my YouTube account and scroll down to see what was my very first video. I remember I did some sort of intro video, but let's not count that as the first video because it was just an intro to my YouTube channel. The first video I did was my Bali. I don't know if you can see that. Can't see it probably. It was my Bali travel film. So my wife and I, we traveled to Bali. I created this epic travel film from there, which is really nice because then we have all these memories from all our travels. So that was my first video, our travel film from Bali. All right, Ansel Photography 31 asks, while working for your brother, will you still be making regular content for your channel? So obviously before I was working full-time doing YouTube content creation, so I was able to make maybe 2 to 3 videos a week. But now being here in Toronto, I'm working full-time for my brother, which means I don't have as much time as before, but I still want to make content for my channel while I'm here in Toronto. So I'm aiming to do 1 video per week, which could be a little bit of an ambitious goal, but I'm gonna try my best. But I also want the direction of this channel to be a little bit different here in Toronto. Instead of doing a whole lot of camera reviews or more heavy duty videos, I'm thinking of more just documenting my life here in Toronto, more just behind the scenes vlogs of here at the office, and just things that I'm learning and reflecting on. I think that'll be a lot more rewarding for you guys and as well for me to have all these memories from this year. So that's what I'm thinking for the channel for this year. But then if after 1 year I go back to Finland, I will definitely going hard with YouTube, meaning easily I'm gonna be making 2-3 videos a week. And I'm really excited at that because I have a whole bunch of ideas for this channel. All right, next question. Aloy Karla asks, how do you tag, store, and organize your files to find videos later? Man, I am in some ways the worst at organizing, or at least I was in the past. Now I'm getting a little bit better at it, but I would highly suggest taking the time to organize your photos, your videos well. What I've been doing right now is I always have a hard drive where I have everything backed up onto 2, and I just always start the file with 1 and then the name of that title, so it'll just go in a numerical order based on time. And within every single folder, I always have project, I have the footage, I have the render, music. That way everything's organized very nice so I can quickly find everything I need, whether it's assets for that video or music or the footage for that video. So I like to have those 4 or 5 folders for every single vlog or video I create, and then have all of my projects in a numerical order with the dates. So that makes everything very easy to find. This is something that often people skip out on, and then years later they end up paying the price whenever they want to go back and find certain footage or projects. So I would highly recommend taking the time to just organize your footage. It's like organizing your house or your room. It just helps you work and think better. All right, next question. Famons Kazan asked, how do you overcome the fear of being criticized by people after you post a video? And that's a great question. I think no matter who you are, there's always a sense of fear of putting yourself out there and creating content for the whole world to see. And the first thing I would say is that don't listen to the haters. There's always gonna be a few not so kind people who just have no filter and write whatever they want in your videos, and I wouldn't listen to those people, but I would listen to people that are close to you and the ones who actually give you great advice. But when it comes to putting out content, I would just go for it, you know? What's the worst thing that will happen in the end? And I often encourage people by saying the first videos that you post are gonna be your worst. So just work on them, get them posted, get them over and done with, because as you go on, as you create more and more content, it's just gonna get better and better. So don't be so stressed or so hard on yourself in the beginning. Just start creating, put it out there, and it's just gonna get better and better from there. If you ever look at any YouTube content creator, go back to their beginning videos and most likely they look awful, sound awful, and are very uncomfortable in front of the camera. So I would highly suggest just starting and start creating and start posting, and as you just practice your craft, you're gonna get better at it. So don't be worried about what people think or will say, just do it. Because at the end of the day, I really think all of us are just faking it till we make it. So we're just putting ourselves out there, doing what we can do best, and that's all you can do. All right, next question from Martin Nemeth Official. He asked, how long does it take you to create a video from start to finish? So I would say right now, working with Maddie or on my own YouTube channel, creating YouTube videos takes me about 1 or 2 days, depending on how heavy of an edit is and how much B-roll examples there are and how long the video is. But I definitely would say that I was a lot slower at editing in the past than I am now. Even just in 2 months working with my brother, I've gotten so much faster and better at editing. And it's simple things like just using keyboard shortcuts, having the 3 keys to cut the front end of the clip, the back end, or do a cut. That helps speed up things so much. Another thing that I'm trying to break a habit is I used to have this habit of whenever I'd edit, I'd always go rewatch from the beginning to end just to get the feel and flow of it. But I'm trying to train myself not to do that, just to trust my cuts and my edits and just keep editing. And then once I'm done the whole video, then I watch it one whole time and then make some adjustments. But that's something I'm really trying to avoid to save time, because you end up spending so much time just watching it and rendering it out and all these unnecessary things. So yeah, make sure you do those things. And also, it helps to have a nice computer. I'm not complaining. Right now, we're editing with a Mac Pro, and it is very fast. So if you are a full-time photographer or filmmaker and you're going to be editing a lot, I would highly suggest investing in a fast computer. I know it's going to break the bank, but at the end, you're going to save so much time while editing, which will make you a lot more productive. So you'll probably actually make your money back. So highly suggest when you are in a place or time that you have the money to invest in a fast computer, I would do that right away. It's gonna help the editing process a lot more. Also, things like having a library of songs that are ready to use, that'll save a lot of time, because I find you can end up spending a lot of time looking for music. So I often just spend one afternoon just looking for a whole bunch of music that I could use for B-roll sequences and then for talking headshots. And then I have this folder of music that I can just grab right away instead of spending time on Epidemic Sound looking for music. All right, next question. David M. Jeld asks, random question, what is the one snack dish type of food you miss from Scandinavia? I think food-wise, I am missing kebab. There's this place in my hometown called El Teppo, which is so good. It's the best kebab and fries with this nice garlic sauce. So I'm missing that for food. And when it comes to snacks, I'm missing irtakarkki, which is kind of just like assorted candies, you know, like little 5-cent candies. Well, in Finland, they have just aisles of candy, and I miss just getting a big bag of candy and eating those while watching a movie. So those are what I'm missing in Finland right now. All right, there's a whole lot of questions. Would we travel to certain places? Would you travel to Brazil? Would we travel to Greenland? Would we ever travel to the UK? And I would say resounding yes to all these. I am up for any kind of travel, so wherever we could go and travel to, I'm down when things are safe to travel again. So yes, I would travel to all these places. All right, here's another question related to travel from alpha.set. Favorite place you've been to in Finland's top 3 must places. 3 of my top favorite travel places in the world so far, definitely Thailand, Hawaii, and Norway. Hawaii and Thailand, both tropical places, snorkeling, swimming, the beach. Really love those places, lots to do. And then Norway for the hikes and the epic views and just the wildness of that country. Yeah, there's a lot of places like Iceland or other places in the world where you can't anymore, you know, get off the beaten path and just go explore or fly your drones, because there's a lot of restrictions now with that stuff and we want to follow the rules. Whereas in Norway, there's still a lot of freedom to just go hike and travel really anywhere. And in most places, you can still fly a drone, I think, unless the rules have changed. So those are some of my favorite places. Finland, I love, for example, Helsinki, the capital. Great city, really chill vibes. There's just so many nice little places around there on the coast that I really love. Then Lapland up in the north, especially Levi, where you go snowboarding. I love going there in the winter, staying at the glass igloos. That's really nice. And then I really love the cottage. No matter what cottage is, if I can go to a cottage in Finland and go sauna and swimming, that's always a winner. All right, Capture Exile asks how to pronounce Matti Haapoja and Teppo Haapoja in the right Finnish way would be cool to know. All right, our names are actually pronounced Teppo Haapoja and Matti Haapoja. A little bit hard with the Finnish language. There's always these double consonants. We have like M-A-T-T-I or T-E-P-P-O, so it's Matti Teppo. That's how you pronounce our names. The Sethinator76 asks, on travels, how do you balance enjoying a place and wanting photography and film it well? That's definitely something that I've often struggled. I think actually that's why a lot of times I don't even like doing travel films that much anymore, because I really struggle with wanting to just enjoy and be present, but as well photograph and film the place. Now, it's totally different if I'm on a holiday and I have to mix holidaying with photography and film, whereas if I'm doing actual work trip, for example, with Maddie, then it's a lot easier for me to just travel and shoot photos, shoot video, because the point of the trip is to work and take photos and take video and make an epic film from that trip. But then when I'm on a holiday where I'm supposed to be resting from my work, then I do feel this kind of inner tension where it's like, I just almost want to go on a trip with no cameras along with me, but at the same time, this place is so epic and I get some really cool photos or real cool footage to make. So I definitely do struggle with that. And I think everyone has to figure out their own way of dealing with that tension. All right, my good friend Aaron's asking, how are you liking Canada versus Finland and how COVID is different between the two? Well, Finland is obviously a lot smaller country and we lived in a lot smaller city, and the restrictions with COVID were a lot less restricting. So we're able to go see our friends, we're able to go outside, go to restaurants in Finland. Whereas here in Toronto, it's a lot bigger city with a lot more people and a lot more COVID-19 cases, meaning when we moved here to Toronto, it was a lockdown. So we haven't had too much freedom when it comes to seeing people. Mostly it's just been outdoors, going on walks, playing outdoor games, going snowboarding, doing things that are safe, but we can still do with people. And we're hoping that things will get more loosened here in Toronto and things will be a lot more safer. But until now, we just gotta follow the rules and stay safe. But in the end, Canada and Finland are very similar for me because I've lived in both countries 50-50. So I actually find that being in the two countries is not that different. Maybe here in Canada, people are a little bit more social and polite, whereas in Finland, they're a little bit more shy. But in Finland, when you do make a friend, they are a loyal friend for life. So yeah. I don't know, not too many differences in these two countries in my opinion. All right, J. Port Cotero said, I just really like your channel. Thanks, man. I really appreciate those kind words. It's nice to know that you guys are enjoying the content on my channel. All right, there is probably like 100 questions about gear, and I almost don't even want to answer these questions because it's so hard to tell you what the best camera is or which camera should you buy under $1,000 because really it's up to you to figure out what situation you're in, what are your needs, and finding the tool that's for you. I don't think there is a one camera solution gear setup that fits all and works for everybody because there's so many different niches of photography and filmmaking. And if I just throw it out in the air right now that you should get this camera setup, it's probably not gonna work for you. But I guess just some guidelines. I think if you're starting out and you don't have a whole lot of money, but you want to get into photography and filmmaking, then I would just say use the tool in your pocket. Just use your iPhone if you have one or a mobile phone and go out and shoot with that and learn things about composition and lighting with that. And then once you maybe start doing more seriously, you want to start doing it for work, maybe then invest into a DSLR or mirrorless camera where you can switch lenses. And a basic lens would be like the 50mm 1.8 just to get a nice shallow depth of field. And then from there, especially if you're a YouTube content creator, I would get a wide angle lens like the Canon 16-35 or the 15-35 RF lens, or for the Sony, the 16-35, because having that zoom lens is really great for vlogging and making content. All right, another question about gear. ADJ Marley asks, what lens would you buy if you had money to buy only one? Price is out of question, one for life. If I was to do YouTube for the rest of my life, I would get 16-35 lens, whether that be the Canon or the Sony version, depending on what camera I'd be using. But when you're a YouTube content creator, you need a wide angle lens, and then being able to zoom into 35 to get those nice B-roll shots is what you need. So I would definitely use the 16-35 lens for everything. If I wasn't a YouTube content creator, then I would probably use a 35mm 1.4 lens. That would be the Sigma or the Canon or the Sony, whichever lens for which camera body I'm using. But I really like the 35 portrait lens, so it's always a winner. All right, there are so many questions still yet to be answered. I'm so sorry guys, but I've tried my best. But I'm gonna answer this one last question here at the end, and that's from Four Wheelings SA. And he or she asked, how to stay motivated for YouTube? 1,000 subs seems so far. And if you are a YouTube content creator and you're just starting out, I would just say make sure that you are 100% passionate about the topic that you're creating YouTube content for. So if you really love snowboarding, make a YouTube channel about that. If you really love photography or filmmaking, make a channel about that. But whatever your YouTube channel is about, you better be dang passionate about that, because it's gonna help you so much more in the end create content for those topics. And the second thing is just realizing that, hey, YouTube, as great as it is, it's still gonna be your job one day, which means that there's always bad days or days where you don't feel like making content, even though you are passionate and you love what you do. But there's always gonna be those days where you just gotta push through. But if there's any kind of tips I could give or any kind of encouragements, I would just say, if you're creating great content and you're creating it consistently, you will grow. People are gonna find your channel, people are gonna like and subscribe your channel, and it's gonna grow. So just remember to ask yourself, are you creating great content and are you being consistent? Because if you're doing those two things, your channel will grow. All right, guys, thank you guys for sending all those questions in. It's been a long time since I've done a Q&A on my channel. Hopefully you guys enjoyed these answers for your guys' questions. and I can't wait to hear more from you guys. If you have more questions, just write them down below. But to end this video, I want to give a quick shout to this episode's sponsor, and that's Skillshare. Skillshare has partnered with me this whole year, which is awesome because it enables for me to create content for you guys. And if you haven't yet heard, Skillshare is an amazing platform with thousands of classes where you can learn about pretty much everything and anything. If you want to learn about photography, you got it. If you want to learn more about videography, you've got it. If you want to learn how to cook during COVID-19, you've got it. There's classes for everything. And for a limited time right now, the first 1,000 people who click the link in my description, you guys are going to get free access to Skillshare Premium, which means that you can enjoy all the classes that you want. So just go and binge and devour all the classes you can and enjoy. And if you find that you really do love Skillshare and what they have to offer, which I'm quite confident about because I'm a teacher there myself, so at least you can enjoy my content and my classes. But if you do enjoy the content, it's only going to cost you $10 when you get the annual subscription, which is very affordable when it comes to your learning and growing. So thanks Skillshare for partnering with me and being a sponsor of this channel. All right, guys, it's the end of the day. I'm going to head home and enjoy a little bike ride with my wife.